me. I laugh every time over that stupid clown horn. Whoever decided that was a great idea, it gets me. But I tell you what, this is Reality After Show with Jonny Fairplay. Although Jonny is not here tonight, he is with the Queen, Sandra Diaz-Twine, in Nashville at a viewing party. So for those that miss Jonny, he is going to be doing a podcast of his own. Usually he'll do it like the following day or a couple days later. But I'm here with Alex, Trias, Dan Montchal. We are talking Survivor 43, episode number 5. It is number. I was like, man, when I was like, I see the previews for next week, and we're like, what, 11 days into the game? It just seems like I don't know. With a shorter game, it kind of messes with me. It's like, wow, this is already like almost halfway done, and it doesn't even seem like we've really gotten a whole lot going on in the game. What are your guys' initial thoughts just so far on this season in general? You know, there's been a lot of controversy with the twists in the past, and I know that we're kind of going away from the hourglass deal. But we're still having this journey and the beware advantages. Are you guys enthused about the way things are going on season 43?
So I am, because it's different. Like the issue with the show itself is the formulaicness of it in this new era, but we've had a different cast each time. Like the cast has come in and made the game a different game. These past 3 seasons, and this season by far and away is like the most like messy, like chaotic energy group, like people that are willing to betray their allies like instantly just over the tiniest of things. I'm all for beware advantages because it helps to limit the amount of advantages per tribe. I don't mind the journey because we saw it tonight. Like there are ramifications now going to the journey. Don't tell Moral of the story is don't tell everyone everything. This season has been like, oh, let me tell every single secret that I should keep to myself and tell it. And we finally seen someone in Geo today who gets their hand slapped for, you know, being too revealing, being too upfront with people of what actually happened.
Yeah, I do. I agree with what you're saying about people being too truthful. I think that's in Survivor Caramoan, one of my downfalls was being honest in situations maybe I should not have been as honest. It seems like people are afraid to play dirty this season. It's they're almost like apologizing, like we see tonight at Tribal. Like, I'm sorry for, Carla's like, I'm apologizing for voting a certain way. I just feel that I'm hoping that things get a little more cutthroat because, as Jonny says, sometimes we really haven't seen a major villain kind of emerge. Everyone's kind of playing this polite sort of game.
I guess defining villain is a little bit different in this era. Like I when I look at the board, that I always viewed villain as those are the people that are ready to play the game, make a cutthroat decision if they need to. Like change up the plan in order to do something that they think is more important and self-interested for them. Or just like not revealing everything. And we have that potentially in Noelle, who she's, I think, the only person who's come back from the journey and hasn't told every single person on their tribe what happened on the journey. We have Cassidy, who I think is I think she's going to be a potential front runner in this game. Down the line, like she's willing to like actively go against people, and you have Carla, who's a very self-interested player and is very willing to change on a dime a plan if she thinks keeping someone around is not beneficial for her game.
I will say, going into this game when we were doing the cast assessment, Carla was not on my radar at all. I'm like, Carla and James. I love those two players. Like, watching them strategize, I'm like, these are two smart players who I think are like smart enough to, I don't know, like not give away too much. And I don't know. I hope they go far. And I like Cassidy too. Ryan, he
can
seems
go.
like a
He
dum
can
dum
go.
to me. And do you guys really think that he threw a challenge tonight?
I think he believes that he threw a challenge.
What do you think, Dan?
It's hard because if you're going to get someone through a challenge, I want to see it before it actually happens, because I feel like that's just way too easy to play the results of, you know, everyone's the author of their own story of like, no, that's really where I wanted to throw the ball because, you know, it worked out. And we're going to get rid of Cassidy. So I don't know. I think if you're going to tell that story, I want to see it before it happens and you lose, because it's easy to go back afterwards and say, it was my plan all along.
I mean, for me, yeah, it's like if I did absolutely horrible and lost it for my tribe, I would be like, yeah, in my confessional, to not look like an idiot, I said, yeah, I threw the challenge. I didn't believe her for a second, personally.
Especially from Ryan, who we've seen him do really well in all these challenges.
Yeah.
And I think what you were saying, Matt, is it makes more sense because it's a challenge that he actually failed at, and that's just his, you know, coping mechanism. Like, I didn't really want to win anyway.
Yeah, I could see that. That was an interesting point. But we start off this episode. So Lindsay is gone, okay, and she was like paranoid as hell, which really cost her game. And I've seen a lot of stuff. I don't know if you guys have dove into social media.
Yes. So here's the thing. I think you've probably seen some of the articles and stuff, like with her like explaining why she was paranoid.
Yes.
But to me, it just confirms that, like, it doesn't confirm anything like in terms of being a positive player towards Lindsay. It just confirms what we said on the podcast. Like, you played yourself.
Right.
Like, you thought you were an amazing player. They were being good allies. They were telling you the truth, and you spun them so many times that they're like, okay, we can't spin anymore. I would like to stop spinning. We're not going to marry Ann and spin the other way to try to reverse it. We're just going to send you out.
Dude, the Marianne comment. I think Jonny and I might have been on the Q&A or something, and I totally forgot about that moment. The fact, like, that's kind of like some of the players we're dealing with.
And if you want to hear that Q&A, become a patron at realitypatron.com.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If you're a fan of Survivor, I would highly suggest watching, if you have free time outside of American Survivor, to watch Australian Survivor or South African Survivor South Africa against Scotland, which I have not seen. But have both of you guys watched the South African version?
I haven't finished the current one, but I have seen most.
But you love it, and you two guys are huge fans.
My hot take is South African Survivor currently is the best form of Survivor on television.
So I was very kind of not on board with what Zach Hacker and Jonny and Alex and Dan were preaching. I thought, oh, no one's better than Jeff Probst in American Survivor. But I finally opened up my eyes and my mind and gave international survivors a chance. And I got to tell you that I have not watched South African, but Australian Survivor, it's awesome. And we do a podcast on past seasons of Australian Survivor. Jonny and I do. We just did one a couple nights ago. So if you want to hear that coverage and you want to support the podcast, become a patron, realitypatron.com. Check that out. But regardless, check out Australian Survivor, because there is going to come a time where there will be speculation out in Survivor world that there will be a either US versus Australia or some sort of battle of the worlds of the different survivors, which I would love to see, and I would love to see Jonny Fairplay play that. But Lindsay is gone, and it's kind of nighttime after Tribal Council. Cassidy is talking to Gio, and Gio kind of tells Cassidy what went down at the vote, or why her name was written down. What do you guys think as far as Gio and Ryan on this tribe? I kind of think that they're not the brightest when it comes to just being strategic, real game players. I know they're there to play the game, but I'm not impressed.
What really confused me with Gio is, so you go all the way back to the premiere. He has that bad first challenge, and it's kind of like he's down on his luck. He works on the sweat challenge, but you kind of see him more humble. He's making connections out there, and you didn't see a lot of them until the last episode. And it's what happened from him turning into that guy to becoming overconfident and just kind of a dick to people, like, and condescending, because we never saw what that change was.
Yeah.
I think on this tribe, like, the theme of it's overconfidence. Like, Lindsay's paranoia came from an overconfidence in her own ability, thinking that she's the top threat in the game, or in the entire game. Gio's like too blinded on, like, I guess, like, what his story is, like what his game is, what he intends to do in the game, that he's convinced himself that everyone's working around his, or working for his game, not around his game. And so, like, he's pretty much saying to Cassidy's face, like, you're on the outs. And then he, right in that same breath, goes like, so you voted for me, right? And Cassidy has to explain to him, like, no, like, there was 4 votes on Lindsay. You voted for me. Yeah. Do you think Lindsay voted for herself? And then he cuts to Gio, and it cuts to Gio. He's just like, it doesn't matter what she thinks. I have this all wrapped up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, looking back at the last couple seasons, like, a player like Ricard would never make the mistake here that Gio made, or a player like Shan, or just
an Omer.
Yeah, Omer.
Yeah.
He's like, so I was just really kind of like, wow, are you not thinking really, like, about numbers and votes and stuff like that? And then to think that, like, it doesn't really matter anyways. Well, it does matter, Gio. Carla really impressing me so far, you guys. But then we clip to after that, after Tribal Deal, Baka Tribe Day 10. And Ellie and Janine are looking for idols. As fans of the show, they know that, hey, there could be something in a tree or this or that. And we see this time and time again. There's this sunlight beating down on this glorious tree. And Janine goes, and there's ants everywhere. She ends up finding this beware advantage. Now, she could either... Go ahead.
Can we also just mention something here? Because it goes with this. And I mean this in the most positive way. Ellie is the worst ally you can have. Because she is doing what I would do. I'm pretty sure she would be doing what Johnny's doing, where, like, they're, like, searching for allies. They know it's, or, like, Ellie is very aware it's a beware advantage at this point, where you can lose your vote. So she's consistently in all those cutbacks and in this scene going, like, Janine, you go check. I'm gonna actually do the distraction of getting the water. You go look for the beware advantage. You lose your vote. Right. But hey, if you get an idol, it's for us.
Yeah. No, that's fascinating, because that is true. Would you guys want to come upon a beware advantage, like, knowing what it is?
It depends on how easy the task would be.
Yeah, trying to get everyone's beads. No, I want no part of that. Like, if
I wouldn't either.
Like, obviously you're not going to know what it is going ahead of it, but, like, thinking, oh, you're going to need to get a bead from everyone. Like, no, I'm leaving it there. No, thanks.
Yeah, especially, so many people make fake idols in Survivor. So, like, if someone was like, I need your bead, there would be an instant red flag of, like, what do you really need something's up here. You're not just making some beaded bracelet. Like, it's kind of shocking to me.
Well, I'm hopeful that, like, they're, like, if they're trying to big brain players here, I'm hopeful that they're doing stuff like this in 43 and 44, so that when seasons 45 and 46 come around, people are going to be like, oh, these people were being so blatantly honest and, like, had these tasks that, like, seem innocent, but we know, like, from old Survivor is how you make fake idols, how you do this. Now it could actually be like, oh, they could actually make a real idol with this. No, I'm not going to give you my stuff.
Yeah. It's crazy. So like this beware advantage, I would not want, like you said, any part of it. And the thing is, as they're kind of reading this beware advantage and saying, "Oh, we don't want Owen to know about this," Owen literally walks upon them. And this has happened again in the past couple seasons of Survivor, where people are getting caught red-handed at camp, like completely giving away their game. Because when I was out there playing, like if I'm strategizing and Michael Snow and I are walking on a trail getting firewood and talking about the game, we're like listening for footsteps in the leaves and the twigs and like constantly like looking around. And this is even before like Tony Vlachos's Spy Shack kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So we were like super paranoid, but they're definitely not doing much to be secretive about what they're talking about, because Owen walks up and they just have to tell Owen what the deal is, which is good for Owen.
Right.
Because Owen can use this big time. If he's smart enough, he can use this to his advantage in the game. And then, this whole deal is kind of crazy.
So there's two things here. One, they did use this to confirm to us from Janine's view, and you have to assume it's Ellie's view too. The alliance on this tribe, to their mind, is those two and Sammy, which like now it confirms some of the stuff that we were hearing from Mariah's boot, where they were like, "Oh, it's the three girls and Sammy were supposed to be the group." Whereas these last two episodes, it was making it really come across like, "Oh, it's 2 and 2, and Owen's in the middle," and so we sort of get that story, but we also get the Owen in the middle story. He's like, I could screw them over here and just like tell everyone not let them get their beads, but I need my options to remain open. Her not having her vote limits my options, and I don't necessarily want to work with one of the two people, Gabler, on the other side. So it's just interesting because this tribe itself, because this is really the only scene outside of Gabler getting swindled, where we see Baka. And I said it in like a group chat while watching the episode. I was like, Baka right now is like the Blue Balls tribe of this season. We keep getting the drama. There's so much drama on that tribe. It's a tribe that needs to go to tribal, because it doesn't matter if they're all together at this merge. They're gonna scatter away and like shoot at each other instantly.
I think that. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. Because Gabler is clueless. You know, he's obviously doesn't know what's going on. I mean, we've seen him having just trouble physically throughout this game, and it's only like 11 days in. He ends up giving the yellow bead that was specifically for his daughter to Janine. So that's a pretty big feat for Janine to get it. But everyone was kind of playing along with it. So like, I think that was like easier for him to like give that yellow bead to her. But Sammy like waste no time telling him that, look, you gave that bead, which actually made a real idol. He's like, you mean a fake idol? And he's like, no, a real idol. And I think that this tribe, like you said, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of tension, I think, between players of like, people don't like Gabler. And this is why, like with the merge coming up soon, I'm going to like that a lot better than these kind of 3 tribe deals, because we're not seeing like a lot of certain things going on. Like Cody, who Jonny Fairplay does not like. I like Cody. He's one of the most entertaining players this season, in my opinion.
Where was he tonight?
Yeah, he's nowhere to be found. We do not see that. So
as soon as it hits the merge, I think it's going to take all of 6 minutes for all the information to be out there from Baka. Be like, Gabler has an idol, good for one more vote. Janine has an idol and also can't vote next time.
I think the only thing that's going to be secret is Carla's idol.
Yeah.
And maybe Noelle's steal a vote. But I think that will come out, because she's going to need to talk to more people if they feel like their group is in danger.
Yeah.
all of that's going to be out in the open. But at the same time, it brings up what Gabler says as you like go into the commercial break is this creates an infinite amount of problems because now not only do you have a successful idol, you also have your vote at that time.
Yeah.
And we don't know where that idol would be played. If we were going to target Ellie, she could play on Ellie and one of us goes home. I could play it on myself. I could play it on one of the other guys, but it doesn't guarantee I'm safe. So like that's the one good thing about a couple idols being at play in a big tribal is it's sort of playing roulette. Right. And it's like Cassidy says, who has the blanks, who has the actual bullets.
And I like a lot of these players, and I think it's going to be really entertaining when they all come together in one tribe and you have these dynamic personalities. Because there are, I mean, for me, there's a lot of people I really dig. I'm trying to think if there's anybody I really don't like majorly don't like. Do you guys have anybody that you like? I'm not down with them at all.
I mean, like, I see, like, even if like we make fun of Gabler on here, I don't mind Gabler being on the jury and being a personality on a season. I don't mind Cody having a stretch here. Like, I can see Cody win like a couple immunities early on and then gets clipped at like 8 or 7. Hey, that gets him over halfway through the game. Congrats, you guys, you gave us some entertainment. I wouldn't mind seeing like a Ryan go.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone that I know I'm actually rooting against. But, we've mentioned, like there's Carla and James, but there also isn't anyone that I'm like, I really hope they make a deep run.
Oh, you know what? Sammy can go. Dude is saying that he's 22, but he's actually 19. And during the challenge or after the challenge win, he makes a Chuck E. Cheese reference when Dave and Buster's is right there. Like literally there's so many other options. Like I was in Tennessee. I went to like a Guy Fieri place called like Downtown Flavor Town. It was like a Dave and Buster's. Like you literally could say anything and you choose the thing that's for 6-year-olds.
Sammy was just there 6 months prior to going on the show. All right. Talk about what you know.
He was. So we go to day 11 and it's the immunity / reward. So the reward is first place immunity gets a big tarp, and then there's a smaller tarp for second place, which, as Jonny has stressed before, I never got the luxury of having a tarp, but I know on Pearl Islands, like having a tarp was like major game changer because when it rains, it really sucks.
Yeah, Matt, so before we go through like the steps of the challenge, I do have a question for you as a Survivor player.
Yes.
Isn't it sort of like a big slap in the face to the contestants that make the tarp the last reward you get before, like in the tribe portion of the game? Like you get it for literally 24 hours and then you have to either share it or leave it at the camp.
I know. I didn't think about that. That's
because they've been doing that in like recent seasons. It's like one of the last rewards is the tarp. I'm like, that should be the first one. Like, screw fishing gear. Like you can make that the second challenge or whatever. Make it a tarp and some fruit.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, no, that you're exactly right. Having a tarp immediately will be a total game changer because being wet and cold on Survivor is like the absolute worst. And we haven't really seen a lot of crazy rain and suffering. At least they haven't shown it this season. I'm sure it is. I'm sure if you talk to these players, they'd probably be like, "God, the conditions were miserable." But yeah, we'll see. So explain this challenge to us, Alex.
Okay. Well, this challenge is requires a lot of teamwork. So in teams of 4, because the smallest tribe is 4 people, you have to go through some obstacles where then at the end of the obstacles, you get a bucket of water or a bucket and you fill it with water. You go up like that teeter-totter rope mechanic to then pour that water into another bucket. And you keep doing that until that bucket drops the gate. And then from there, you're rolling 3 balls so that they land perfectly still on the top of the platform. First 2 to do it win immunity. Last place goes to tribal council.
Which I'm fine with something not being like a technical puzzle, this time.
Oh, but, I love seeing one that doesn't end in a puzzle. Like this is skill. It's literally just skill and carny comps.
Mm-hmm. It is. And the one thing they say is that first part of this challenge is like the crazy sticks. And they said that it's like all were identical.
Yeah.
Excuse me. My apologies. I've been suffering from a cold. Talk about it. I'm going to mute my mic for a minute, Alex.
Yeah. So Dan, like we see some people do strategies, and what I found interesting was like the two usually we have a tribe that goes over and just gets to the top, goes through the top. We saw two tribes like go through it, and then we have the Vessi tribe who literally, and I think it's because of Noelle and her leg. They're like, we will army crawl this, and it ended up being like the army crawl was the most effective way to do it.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that I didn't realize, originally when you first see it, because you'd think that, okay, that seems like one of the easiest options. Why would you let them just crawl right underneath of it? And I don't know if you only had a certain path, but they went, and everyone on that Vessi tribe is also, they're smaller, they're skinnier.
Yeah, they're
so
slender.
they didn't have anyone that you had to worry about getting stuck or being a tight fit. So they flew through that first portion.
Yeah, and then like so it's pretty even after that point, because of just like the water being the equalizer. Here's to Noelle for single leg hopping through the gate to get to like the or to the mat so that they could start rolling the ball. And you can see it's a lot of finesse there, because there's certain ways you can do this comp. Obviously, overall, it's about ball speed, and how fast it goes up. But sometimes like you see some people do it like a skee ball and just hope that like you can put like some curve on it to try to hit it just right on, because there's little edges on that. It's not like a completely flat surface on the top. But one thing I don't see people do, and I think Dwight attempted it, was like a backspin, which is obviously harder to get to the top. But if you do a backspin and it can come to the top, it's gonna stay there. But we see them get first place. Vessi keeps rolling.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about this is like it comes down to like a puzzle is usually the great equalizer in challenges. Dwight ends up winning it, and then Sammy gets second, and then Ryan claiming that he threw the challenge, which means Coco's going to be going to tribal once again.
So
also, going back to Ryan throwing the challenge, if you're really going to throw it, who waits till their 27th attempt on the third ball to be like, now's the time where I need to throw it to make sure that
there's no possible.
I don't think he like we said, we don't think he truly threw. It was funny though. It was like right after Cassidy like explicitly says like you should throw it to the right. He throws it directly to the left and like knocks all of them off. But yeah, you know what? Sometimes the reason why those balls can stay or topple over, they have to be perfectly smooth. And we have an ad that's going to tell you exactly how you can keep your balls as smooth as hell.
Support for Reality After Show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. That's right, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. If my math's correct, that's about 12 million balls.
The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies.
First off, the Lawnmower 4.0, this trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever.
Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to help reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and has a 4000K LED spotlight that you need for a more precise shave.
Now, I have a dark shower curtain in my bathroom, and I've been looking for the perfect way to shave in the dark, kinda. Guess what? I found it! 4000K LED! No longer a problem. I got perfectly smooth, clean balls thanks to the Lawnmower 4.0.
It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code SURVIVOR. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code SURVIVOR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Thanks for sticking with us through the ad break. And don't forget, for more exclusive Reality After Show coverage, visit realitypatron.com. That's reality, Patron.com.
We are back, and hopefully I don't have another coughing fit. For the past couple of days, I've had like a cold, weather change, whatever. I took a COVID test I have at home just to make sure. I'm totally fine. So I got congestion in this cough, and I've been feeling better. But sometimes when I get to talking, my throat gets aggravated, and my apologies. No one wants to hear someone coughing in a microphone.
Well, here, we'll give you a few more minutes or a minute to rest and you know what? If you like talking, to Jonny Fairplay and many other Survivor players, you're in luck because his viewing party tour is still going on next week in Boston, Massachusetts, and he has a whole crew of Survivor players coming with him. He's got Trish. He's got Jimmy T, Lirsa, Mikey B, Brett LaBelle, Lunch Lady Denise, and Survivor winner of Second Chances, Jeremy Collins. Go to SurvivorTix.com. That is SurvivorTix.com to get your ticket today and meet all those legends of this game that we all love and watch the show with them.
It is a blast. And Jimmy T, I got to hang out with him multiple times at Bob Crowley's the Durham Warriors Survival Challenge I did back in, I think, like 2013 or 2014. I did like two of them, and Jimmy T was at both those. What a great guy. So if you've never been to one of these viewing parties, I highly suggest it. So look, Ryan wants Cassidy out, and Ryan is acting so dumb, like, oh, just put votes on me, etc. And Cassidy ain't buying it. What do you guys think?
She's smart. So how do we want to do this? We'll talk about this, then we'll talk about like the overall, like, because I want to talk about like really the main story here. And the main story is Cassidy, like everyone on that tribe pretty much understands the situation here. From Ryan's perspective, everyone's voting Cassidy. Done deal. Okay, I can have a straight vote my way. It doesn't matter. Cassie has a tight alliance with James and Carla. They all knew and willingly voted Lindsay out because 3 and Cold Pepper Math 3 and 5 is in. She logically and calmly throughout this whole time, or this whole segment, is explaining why she would be nervous about constantly switching the vote, and like because it's her neck on the line. It's not Carla's neck. It's not James' neck. And she was like, if you guys were in this position, I would be listening to both of you. Like I would listen to either of you. If you felt you were at risk, I would do what you would want to do. And they took that as, oh no, is this Lindsay 2.0? And I was like, where was it?
So what confused me even more about, like Ryan and Gio's just overconfidence with it is it says in the very beginning of the episode that, okay, they looped Ryan and Gio in at the last minute. So if you're hearing about the last minute plan that, oh, we're going to get Lindsay, why would you think you have control of this tribe when they wanted to go for Cassidy last time?
It was all part of the plan.
Yeah, I don't think this whole like Lindsay 2.0, I don't buy that. Lindsay's paranoia was next level paranoia. And
right.
Anyone's going to be a little bit like, I don't want it to be me kind of thing. But like last week, out of many, many seasons of Survivor we all have watched, Lindsay's paranoia was just on another level. So we go now to this journey, which it's Gio, Janine, and Jesse. They have to go on this little tiny ass boat in the ocean to this like sandbar kind of thing. Man, I tell you what, that boat doesn't look very big on the rough seas. I don't know if it was editing or what, but I was like, I don't know if I want to be out in that thing with no life jacket on.
But I will say, I loved the comedy they used editing wise for this, because you get the slow-mo action shots. It's like the marooning almost of like you're getting all of them like looking like badass rowing it, and then they cut to real time. It's like, oh, we're making some progress. We'll eventually get there. Gio, you might be late to tribal.
Yeah, so Gio, he's kind of like painting this picture that, wow, I really need to have the advantage or whatever I'm going to get on this. He's really playing up his story, and everyone else kind of almost sees right through it, that he's like kind of going over the top, and that's the same thing like with what Ryan was doing, going over the top about all, Cassidy was seeing right through him. So these players that are smart are kind of, it's total red flags. If you're playing too hard, or if you're lying and you like start telling like way too much information about like, we've seen this time and time again, like, if like on Australian Survivor, for example, and you go and you can rummage through these things or whatever to try to find something, and you come back, if you give way too much information, automatic red flag that you're making up a story. Keep it simple. Less is more. You don't have to give away your whole freaking game or your whole strategy. And that's what Gio's kind of doing. But at the end of the day, everyone is playing a game of Survivor, and they're there to risk it. If you two were playing Survivor in a situation knowing this is like the new school era of Survivor, would you risk your vote and possibly just play along with how they are right now?
I feel there's no straightforward answer with this. I wouldn't do it just because I'm on Survivor. Yeah. Like, I would do it if I felt like from what is your position on your tribe, or your perceived perception of your placement on the tribe. Mm-hmm. Are you in a minority? Are you going to tribal that night? Like, how important is it that you need to have your vote at this instant, or in the chance that you lose your vote, how much does that impact you and the people that you are working with for that next vote? I think more times than not, I personally wouldn't risk it. And then I will look like like some loser on in the edit. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna save my vote. I can't risk it. It's the most important thing in the game. But it is the most important thing in the game. The advantage is useful to some limit, and for what we saw, for 3 votes being the knowledge is power, you can keep it. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think too. Well, I was going to say, in such small tribes, to not have your vote would suck.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like, if it was a 2-tribe format and there was still like 7 people left, and you were like in a 5-2 majority, it would be okay, cool. I'll risk it. No harm, no foul. But I also wouldn't tell anyone. I'd just be like, hey, my vote was too important to risk.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Well, that's why I thought it made no sense for Janine. Like, you just got the idol, and you see time and time again where people stack advantages and they immediately become a target. So people are already wary of her. Maybe she doesn't pick up on that, which that's fine. But wouldn't you think, okay, if I get the second one, everyone's going to be suspicious. Pretty much she knows at least 4 of the 5 people on her tribe know she has the idol. So what's the point in risking it there?
Right. And to our knowledge, she may only know that 2 of them know.
Yeah.
It was Ellie that told Sammy in the edit. We don't know if Janine has told Sammy.
Right.
So there's some self-sabotage there. But we see all that, and then we see all 3 go to camp. 2 of them tell the truth. But they do it in different ways. Jesse comes in immediately, tells them the truth. He's like, and we know this from Jesse at this point, he is reformed. He did his time in juvie. He saw the light, got his degree. He's a good dude. He's above the board. And for his game, he has to stay above the board. I would have liked to see some of that like mischievousness come out and be like, guys, I wouldn't risk my vote. You guys have seen me now for 11 days.
Yeah.
You know how I play.
Right.
But I feel like they set a precedent early on with like, oh, we're all going to show each other stuff. So then it's like, if you don't show them the paper, or they just have to believe that you did not risk.
That's what I think I'm going to be the most interested seeing as the seasons go on, if they stay with kind of this format, because we were talking before about the beware advantages. And so I think it's, they go hand in hand. So first with the beware advantages, I think you're going to have someone that's, people out there, they're going to be suspicious of every little thing that you ask for or you say that seems out of the ordinary because you're seeing this. And then the same way with, this, island adventure is you're going to be suspicious of everything about them. And what do people do to kind of evolve it to maybe being able to be, more mischievous and not show all your cards on the table, because we've seen this season that a lot of the times it doesn't work out.
I would be completely fine if there was no more journeys after this for a little bit. I think that's one of the problems that I have with Survivor lately is it's just, and maybe I'm wrong, but it's just my opinions. Maybe I'm old school. It's like the same thing every season. And it's just like predictable, kind of like there's nothing like, oh my God. And I think that's like the thing I like about, I always bring it back to Australian Survivor, is because since it's so new and fresh for me, that it's like, oh, like, holy crap, I've never seen like this or that or this advantage before. So I am fine if Survivor wants to reinvent the game, because if something's the same way for if Survivor was like season 1 or season 2 this whole time, it would have gone off the air a long time. I think you have to reinvent yourself, right, and add different things to it to make it entertaining for a younger generation. I mean, when Survivor first started, there was no 4K TVs or modern cell phones and social media, etc. We live in a different world. So I'm fine with new things, but I just wish they would do something a little different. Because even I when I'm at work and I talk to some guys that are like, these security guys are big Survivor fans. So they're all, tomorrow when I go in, they'll be like, Matt, what'd you think of the episode? Every week they're kind of saying that same thing. Like, man, we've seen this, the beware advantage and the this and that. It just seems a little bit repetitive is all.
Well, yeah, for sure. And some of that we know won't change because like it's some of the things that Jeff likes, and it won't change until Jeff does not like it anymore. I will say, I think in terms of how they use it, it's different.
Yeah.
Whereas like in 41 and 42, we're really getting like that's when we were getting the backstories for people. That's where like the emotional bonds were being created. Whereas this one, and they were more often in less episodes.
Yeah.
In this one, it was every other episode essentially was a journey. You didn't get it every episode, and in between episodes, it wasn't like they're like, oh, we're gonna sneak you out of camp at night and then do that's the same thing. Like they changed, they made like tiny tweaks to it, which I'm good with. And the other thing I was just thinking of during this podcast was it's sort of like the replacement for the rewards, like when the tribe would get to go out on reward. Yeah. And at the site of the reward is where a potential advantage lays.
Yeah.
And now it's like, this is the way that we can still get like the minimum amount of advantages that we want to have out in the game for this experiment that we run. And from there, it's like, hey, now let's make it a gambling twist. And now it's not only are we bringing out the advantages, now you're risking your vote. And if you lose your vote, how does that like the implications moving forward for your next tribals and whatnot? Is that the reason why you go home because you risked it? Is it the reason why you go home because you didn't risk it? It's like, it brings like different things in terms of like a gamer mentality. And maybe they're leaning too much into a gamer mentality, but I'm a gamer. So that part of it I enjoy.
No, I think that's cool. That's why like having like a different perspective on the podcast is great, because like you bring up things I'm like, like I might not like it, but then as I'm hearing you talk about it, I'm like, you know what, that kind of actually makes sense. I still am not loving it, but
of course.
but it makes sense of what you're saying. So yeah, Jesse tells the truth. Janine, she kind of tells the truth, kind of. She already knew she lost, but she kind of reveals it again to the tribe, like giving her reaction for the first time, even though it's the second time. And then we go to Coco, where Gio tells Carla about it. And, so Carla's got this in her back pocket. Carla's smart. She knows Gio's got this, knowledge is power deal. And for the duo that I'm a huge fan of, the James and Carla deal, they want Gio gone because he's got this advantage.
Yeah, and like more specifically for Carla, it's like she's like, I know he doesn't know I have an idol, but what if he just randomly says my name?
Yeah.
Like I lose something that I worked damn hard to get. I worked like my butt off. I outmaneuvered everybody to get those stupid beads to create my idol bracelet. Like you're not taking that away from me. You know the easiest way to make sure that doesn't happen? Send it packing.
Especially because that's going to come up at the merge and someone's going to spill it to Gio had he been there that, oh yeah, no, the beads really make an idol. Like, yeah, it's going to get out.
Right. So honestly, Gio, when his name is on the chopping block, I really don't like Gio. He kind of was like slightly annoying to me. And as we saw in the beginning of the episode, his not knowing the numbers of the votes and kind of, I'm like, man, this isn't somebody that I would particularly want to work with. Cassidy is acting paranoid like Lindsay briefly here because she wants Ryan out, but totally not on the same level.
And I will argue it wasn't paranoid. It's like paranoia is like making things out of nothing.
Yeah.
She was making stuff out of something. Like she was like, we all know where those two people are voting. They don't like me. They're voting for me. They told you that you're voting for me, and you told me that they're voting for me.
Yeah.
So we all know where two votes are going.
Yeah.
Okay. We were originally saying we're all three of us voting Ryan. Now you guys want to change to Gio. If something weird happens and there's a mix-up between one of us with this vote, that could potentially send me out. So how about we just do what we originally said?
Yeah. No, that I hear you, because like that's a big difference. Because Cassidy is, I think, a smart player, and I would really like to see what Cassidy can do in this game if she kind of makes it far.
Right, and I said I think she has winner upside.
Yeah, Danny, who right now do you think has a high potential of going deep in the game off of what we've seen?
I'd agree with
Carla.
Yes, I think Carla's the one that's been highlighted the most, that you see a ton of the upside. I'd agree with Cassidy. I think Jesse has a good upside. And I'd say those would be my top three. There's no one really from Baka that's standing out. I was on the cast assessment for Baka, and I think at the end of it we said no one from this tribe is winning the game, and I stand by that.
Yeah. So my friend wanted to constantly like remind me Baka though in if people watch like anime, Ryan watches anime Ryan on the show, he has a tattoo of like an anime thing on his shoulder. In Japanese, Baka means idiot. I'm just putting that out there.
Dude, I tell you what, this going into this whole tribal council, I've said this before. When there's such small tribes going to tribal council, it just there's really nowhere to hide, and there's just it's not as kind of entertaining. I mean, watching Jeff ask questions, he's talking about kind of momentum and what momentum means. Ryan is talking about dropping the ball and messing up that challenge. And I'm just like, man, this guy's sketchy as hell.
Yeah, and when those balls drop, make sure they're smooth using Manscaped promo code Survivor.
That's right. That's right. So Gio, like I said, is someone that I'm like, you could have been. He's got a sinister kind of
There's evil
attitude
there.
about him. Yeah, that I would have kind of liked to see emerge, but I just don't think he was just a couple steps behind. I always go back to Ricard, who was like, I really liked him. He was sinister, but he was a lot smarter, I think, than someone like a Gio.
Well, I think it's like Johnny. I think Johnny's mentioned before, like he compares Gio to Romeo from 42, but like with a little bit more FaceTime on the season.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of like technically like the role that he was gonna get pigeonholed into if he just allowed it. And I don't think he wanted to be pigeonholed into that role of like the person who's there, but what did they do? So he's like, oh, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna play the game, I'm gonna play the game hard, I'm gonna take control of the tribe. So he let himself think I had control of this tribe, but he never did.
Now, do you think that these advantages, like if this risk deal wouldn't have been a factor, that Gio still would have been the one that was getting targeted?
I really don't know because they at least claimed that their first vote was going to be towards Ryan.
Yeah.
Which I probably would have done as well. Because in my mind, I'd be like, well, if we took out Ryan there, if we had to go to a tribal again, and we know merges right out the bat, it's a 3-on-1 against Gio.
Yeah.
And in Carla's mind, I know where the tribe idol is. I have it.
Yeah,
so as long as he doesn't get anything that's useful against us, we control the vote. Even if he gets to steal a vote, there's 2 votes going his way, and at least one of those people will be able to vote him out in a tiebreaker. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
yeah. Well, the good news is I'm happy that Gio's whole advantage is gone, because I don't want to see Carla get screwed by losing her idol.
It's hilarious that journey screwed everybody.
It did.
The person who got the advantage is gone. The people who didn't lost their vote. They're heading into what we're seeing in the next time on is potentially the fight for your right to merge. You know, like BC Boys are pulling out a remix there. But yeah, it's the earn the merge like episode, I guess, which is happening an episode earlier than I thought it would, because I think they've been doing it at the last 2 seasons. They did it at 12. And then it was 11 people in the jury phase with an 8-person jury and a final 3. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see what actually happens.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. And if you guys want to watch Survivor in real life with Jonny Fairplay and others, Alex, where can people get tickets for the next live appearance?
Yeah, you can get tickets at survivortix.com. That is survivortix.com. If you're in the Boston, Massachusetts area, or want to travel up to the Boston, Massachusetts area, that's where Jonny will be with several Survivor alumni and legends of the game.
And it is a blast. And those people that are in Nashville tonight, I know you're having a great time. And a lot of people don't realize that, yeah, you might see Jonny and Sandra in the game, battling and stuff like that. They're great friends. And we're going to see a lot more of Sandra and Jonny. And so, I hope everyone had a great time. I hope everyone's enjoying Survivor 43. I think the game's really going to get rolling starting next week. And,
absolutely.
There was also Jonny and I were talking on the Q&A because it was all over social media that the first 4 boots were all female, which is funny because this kind of broke that chain. And Jonny and I were saying, I didn't even realize that it was all females getting knocked off.
So, I realized it, and it's like you said on the Q&A, some of them, Lindsay did it to herself. Like, it wasn't a, like, oh, we're voting out one. Like, the only time you could sort of, like, based off the edit, you could say it for Baka that they targeted Mariah because they saw her as the weakest, and that's usually a stereotype thrown on the women on a tribe. NECA was voted out because she was the weakest, but like she survived a tribal. It just so happened that they voted out a girl in in her place as well.
Right.
But I'm happy that they aren't the first Survivor season to have 5 women go out.
Yeah, me
to
too.
start a
And
game.
but like we were saying, like on the Q&A and stuff, like when I'm out there playing Survivor, I'm not looking at the cast members of who I'm going to vote out off of anything at all except the game and if they're annoying, and it's all strategy based. It doesn't matter male, female, straight, gay, black, white. It doesn't matter. Like my entire thought process in playing the game is just a simple strategic game amongst human beings and to better yourself in the game. And that's the beauty of Survivor. We love it, and I can't believe we're 43 seasons in. It's quite a feat. So thank you, everyone, all of our listeners, and we will see you all next week for the merge, I guess, episode. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Alex, and cheers.
And for more bonus content, go to realitypatron.com. That's right, become a patron now. Get additional coverage of all your favorite shows, the weekly Q&A, and you become a member of the secret, exclusive Facebook group. That's realitypatron.com.